What if everything you believed meant facing unspeakable torment? What if a Roman officer chose faith over life itself? Today we journey back to an era when devotion was tested by fire and steel. We're uncovering the gripping story of Saint Victor of Marseilles, a figure whose courage echoes through centuries, whose name lives on in churches and prayers. But who exactly was this unwavering man? And what trials did he endure to earn his eternal crown? Get ready to explore a life defined by extraordinary faith in the face of absolute power. Imagine the bustling port city of Massilia, now known as Marseilles, around the late 3rd century. The Roman Empire, a vast and powerful machine, ruled the known world. While its roads and laws brought order, it also demanded absolute allegiance, especially to its pagan gods. It was in this setting that a young man named Victor served. He was a Roman military officer, a high-ranking member of the imperial guard, a trusted soldier sworn to uphold the empire's might. He stood among the elite, his career promising, his future secure within the Roman system. However, Victor held a secret, a profound belief that set him apart from his fellow soldiers and the very empire he served. He was a Christian. This wasn't a casual affiliation. It was the core of his being, a commitment to a God far beyond the Roman pantheon. At this time, Christianity wasn't just another religion. It was seen as a dangerous cult, an insult to Roman tradition, and a direct challenge to the emperor's authority. Christians refused to offer sacrifices to the Roman gods or declare the emperor divine, actions considered treasonous. This was a direct conflict, a clash of worlds, and Victor found himself caught right in the middle. The year was roughly 303 AD, and the Roman Empire was in the throes of one of its most brutal persecutions of Christians. Instigated by Emperor Diocletian and his co-emperor Maximian, orders went out across the empire: identify Christians, force them to recant their faith, or face severe consequences. For an officer like Victor, this meant a direct command to betray his deepest convictions. He was expected to participate in pagan rituals, to burn incense to idols, and to publicly denounce Christ. For many, the fear of torture and death was enough to make them comply, to choose survival over faith. But Victor was not one of them. He openly refused to abandon his Christian faith, making his stance clear to his superiors. His refusal was not just a personal choice. It was an act of defiance against the might of Rome itself. His position as an officer made his refusal even more significant, and therefore more dangerous. He was arrested, stripped of his rank, and brought before the Roman prefect, a local governor. The prefect tried to reason with him, to persuade him to simply conform, to save himself. But Victor stood firm, declaring his unwavering allegiance to Christ. The consequences were swift and brutal. Victor was subjected to terrible tortures designed to break his spirit and force him to recant. He was beaten, dragged through the streets of Marseilles, and imprisoned. The dark, cold cells were meant to isolate him, to crush his hope, to make him reconsider. Yet even in his suffering, Victor found strength. Legend tells of an angel visiting him in his prison cell, bringing comfort and renewed courage, reminding him that his suffering was not in vain. After enduring these initial torments, Victor was brought before the authorities again. This was his last chance, a final opportunity to save his own life, by simply offering a pinch of incense to a Roman idol. He was shown an altar dedicated to Jupiter, the king of the Roman gods, and commanded to perform the simple act. Instead, Victor bravely kicked over the altar, refusing to acknowledge its false divinity. This act sealed his fate. Enraged by his defiance, the Roman prefect ordered his execution. Victor was first sentenced to be crushed by a millstone, a horrifying death. Though he survived this initial attempt, the authorities were determined to silence him. Finally, Saint Victor was beheaded, a martyr for his unwavering faith. His body was then thrown into the sea, an attempt to erase his memory and prevent Christians from honoring him. However, his followers retrieved his body and buried it secretly, preserving his legacy. He died on July 21st, around 303 or 304 AD, a date that would forever be remembered as his feast day. His martyrdom immediately solidified his status as a saint. His story of courage and steadfastness spread quickly throughout Gaul and beyond. The Abbey of Saint Victor, one of the oldest monastic foundations in France, was built in Marseille on the very site where he was believed to have been martyred. For centuries, pilgrims have journeyed there, seeking his intercession and honoring his sacrifice. Today, Saint Victor's feast day is still celebrated on July 21st, particularly in Marseille and other parts of France, as well as in Spain and Italy. Churches bearing his name hold special masses, sometimes accompanied by processions, where his relics might be venerated. For Catholics and students of history alike, his day is a reminder of the powerful testimony of faith in the face of persecution. It's a day to reflect on the strength it takes to uphold one's beliefs, even when everything seems to be against you. Saint Victor is recognized as the patron saint of soldiers and sailors, fitting for a military man martyred in a port city. He's also associated with millers, perhaps because of his attempted execution by millstone. He is invoked as a protector against lightning and storms, a common role for saints in maritime regions. You'll often see him depicted in art holding a sword, symbolizing his military background, or a millstone, representing his torture. Most importantly, he is shown with a palm branch, the universal symbol of martyrdom, a testament to his ultimate sacrifice. His story reminds us that true strength lies not in worldly power, but in an unshakable spirit.